Welcome to Meghan Markle's Debacles, where the royal circus never leaves town and the Sussex sideshow always steals the spotlight. If there's drama, I'm on it. Hi and welcome to another episode. Let's dive into some royal NDAs and how they work or quite possibly work, and why no one is pulling the pin on Meghan and Harry's big fat mouths with the things that they say out there, all the controversy, all that they write, the interviews that they say, etc. Now, I did mention this probably about 12 months ago in a video, that Meghan and Harry's word salad is actually for a reason, because if they don't actually say something, that they can't be sued. So that's why they dance around stuff. That's why they use certain terminology and certain ways to responding to answers. So if you don't say a statement in your answer, you can't be sued. But let's have a little chat about this. You know, what happens behind the scenes in the palace? Let's see if we can figure this out. Shh, what happens in the palace stays in the palace? Not with these two numbnuts. Unless you break an NDA, today we are going to have a look at this, right? How they're going to get out of certain things that are obviously going to be written in the next book. And I'll go into that in a bit, in a little bit. Bit tongue-tied today, aren't I? Goodness. An NDA, or a non-disclosure agreement, is a legal document, as we all know. It basically says zip it, shut your mouth, don't say anything, yada yada. If you're working at Buckingham Palace as staff, security, or even as the florist, you're likely signing one. These NDAs prevent you from talking to the media, publishing memoirs, or revealing any royal secrets. But wait, there's a second level of NDAs. Royal family NDAs. Now, some of you might think that they don't actually sign an NDA because they're family, but in actual fact they do, because they are working for the Crown. So essentially they are staff, i.e. working royals. These go beyond what the palace enforces. These are the hush-hush gold standard legal shields used when family drama could become a global scandal. If you listen to Andrew's interview, and some say that was the worst interview ever, and yes, it very well was the worst interview ever, but he never gave an answer. He danced around. The only when he said about I can't remember being there, or I don't recall that photo taken. Using that terminology actually gets him out of shit. Just like when Meghan went to court and said, I can't remember doing that. That's how they get away without actually making a statement in their answer. You know, think about it. Private arrangements, financial agreements, and or surrogacy rumours. You know, they sign agreements that they can't say anything. So any family member that knows about Archie and Lily, even though they might want to go scream it with a microphone, stand on top of Buckingham Palace and scream it to everyone that's standing at the gates taking pictures, they can't. They can't say a word. I mean, everyone from palace butlers to royal advisors to distant cousins may be asked to sign these agreements. Even guests at private royal parties may be handed a pen before a glass of champagne, and according to some reports, even romantic partners of royals aren't exempt. For instance, Chelsea, when she was dating Harry, she would have signed an NDA. That's why she hasn't come out and said anything. Breaking an NDA tied to the royal family isn't just a slap on the wrist. It actually can include jail time. We're talking lawsuits, financial ruin, and permanent blacklisting. A former staffer might find themselves dragged into court and slapped with damages, even gag orders, and often a payment to shut up. Now, there's a reason why I'm doing this, because they do like to give gag money. And if you're a royal, it's even more political. They don't just sue, they erase. It's not just about suing someone for saying something, they will erase you. And by that could be extremely bad negative press. And allowing that negative press to go ahead, just like how they allow positive press to go ahead. Now, I'm not saying this in defense of anyone. I'm just trying to set the scene here. Now, here's the juicy bit. Did Meghan and Harry sign NDAs before their exit? Apparently, they did. Yet they've spoken out repeatedly. So either those NDAs had loopholes, or they're towing a very fine legal line. Ever notice how they avoid certain topics, but lean heavily on vague truth? Coincidence or compliance? This is what I mean by dancing around an answer. Just listen to how Meghan talks a whole lot of frickin' dribble. You don't even know what she's saying. And that is exactly the reason why they do it. NDAs can be tricky to enforce internationally, and public interests like exposing abuse or corruption can sometimes override them. But here's the catch. You better have proof, because the palace doesn't play nice in court. Remember how quickly royal memoirs get shut down? That's not just PR, that's power backed by paperwork. If people think they don't have the power to do stuff, the most wealthiest family in the world, with money that is unimaginable, think again. They have the power to do anything and to support anybody, whether it is an extended family member of a spouse, maybe. So the next time someone goes silent after working with the royals, ask yourself, was it loyalty or a legal lockdown? Now, on that there, right there, many, including myself, often say, why doesn't the palace do something? Why doesn't the palace shut them up? Blah, blah, blah. Because they don't answer questions directly. They dance around. They talk absolute shit. Can Harry get sued by saying what he said on the BBC interview? Oh, I don't know how long my father has to live. He could have got sued for that, but he backed it up with, because I haven't spoken to him, so how would I know? He can't get sued for that. He danced around the question with, if something happens to me, my wife and my children, look where it lays. He left it open-ended. Everything they say, they leave open-ended. It's a tactic they've been taught from their PR team and whoever is their support person through the royal family. All their team teaches them this stuff. So when they do interviews out there, like any royal member that does an interview, or the public asks them a question, it's always very small things they say and very open-ended, so they cannot get sued. This is why Meghan and Harry has not been shut down yet by Buckingham Palace, and why they get away with what they get away with, because they don't answer questions directly. Like I said, Buckingham Palace is the most powerful, most wealthiest family institution in the world. They can support any family member, and it will not be known to the general public. We get fed dribs and drabs. You look at what Harry said in that interview, the BBC interview, that is all for his next book, Ammunition. You see photos that have been circling. I'm not going to name those photos. That's for a purpose for a book, and for whatever else. I think you should read between the lines in this one a little bit at what I'm hinting at, but you see how Meghan's staff has come out because they can break an NDA because they've been abused. You can break an NDA if you are being abused in the workplace, etc. There is clauses in them. But this is why Buckingham Palace can't shut these two idiots up, because the way they deliver their answers to questions, it's basically dancing around. It's all bullshit. But I suspect the minute that she stuffs up, Meghan or even Harry, and says something directly and not open-ended for interpretation, that's when they will pounce. So it doesn't matter, and I could probably bet money that members of the royal family do know about Harry and Lily back when Harry and Lily, sorry, what's his name? Archie and Lily. Back when Archie was born, they knew, but they can't say anything because they are bound from zip it piece of paper. So there's some just food for thought. If you think that the royal family don't sign NDAs, they actually do. Even staff, like when they came out to Australia, everyone, photographers, a whole lot, anyone, tea lady, everyone signs an NDA. Even the person that puts out the rubbish signs an NDA. Anyone that is in their vicinity signs an NDA. And no general person out there in the public, when they read that NDA and see all the threats and blah, 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 that if you go against that NDA, they will not say a word. Now, if there's a person who has signed an NDA and has substantial amount of money as backup and want to squeal, they will squeal. Now, we'll just leave this at that. Food for thought. What's your comments? What's your thoughts and comments? Pop them down below and we shall chat soon. Keep smiling, stay happy, and most of all, stay healthy. Bye for now.